Test mic. Oh, great. Let's see, security. Security. There.
Morning, all.
Good morning, Stanley. Can you hear me or Saul?
Briefly,
Yes, good morning.
Good. There was my my Zoom told me that my voice was not being recorded because my microphone wasn't working. I sure don't understand that. So this week's recording may have everybody but me.
Well, your volume's down a little on my end, but we can hear you.
Okay. That's all I really care about. I'm not sure whether this recording that I am going to all the trouble of recording and putting on the website is worth it to anyone.
Personally, I have not gone back to watch any recordings of our meeting. I feel the transcript is of value because it has the words written down.
Yeah, I agree.
But probably not everybody even agrees with that. So,
Well, I doubt that many people use it. I think that it's most useful for the secretary in case she doesn't remember something that somebody said that she scratched down in some small note and needs to go back and see what was actually said.
yeah, that find feature is very handy. And also making a note of the time at which things occur. But the find works very well for, finding obscure words that you recall being said, but don't know where it is. You could search for things like that. But anyway, it has to be used to be used.
Yeah, Hank, if there's a way that you could maybe go into your Zoom app settings and adjust your microphone level, if it could be boosted a little, it might help.
Yeah, I can probably do that. Let me find the settings. Come on, settings, where are you?
You should be able to get to it from the caret right next to the microphone mute icon.
All right, let's try that.
Morning, everybody.
So, yeah,
Morning, Will.
audio settings, microphone. Okay, I'll raise it. Is that better?
Yes,
Okay. Done.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
When I signed in this morning, it said host is on another meeting. And I've seen that before. I don't know what that was, but I just waited at the regular place. So I just wanted to let you know that, Hank.
It's not this host.
Okay,
sometimes I have one-on-one meetings with somebody to clean up something that's screwed up, but I wasn't doing that this morning. I was, let's see, what was I doing? I was trying to move money from one checking account to another checking account so I could pay the IRS next week. And that was exciting.
well, I'm just saying that's what it said to people who signed in early.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's their fault. Don't sign in early.
If you wish to rename yourself, Hank, you can.
No, I know. Oh my. I wonder why some people's name says their name and then win 10 and others just say the name.
No, I put it there because sometimes we want people to identify the system they're working with for Q&A.
So
And I know what I'm using, and I think everybody understands what I'm using, but I put it there encouraging other people to do the same so that we know what system they're working and so that we can see when they ask a question, whether they're using an iPad or whatever.
That's interesting. Okay, I'm duly identified. That's not a bad idea. I'll wait till.
Well, thank you, Hank. I appreciate that.
As someone once said to me, don't take it so personal.
So who else were you talking about?
Sounds like Curly from the Three Stooges.
I was thinking about Pat and Barbara. I don't know what Saul runs everything.
That's right.
Let's see, what time is it now? Oh, it's 10:25. All right, another few minutes. I'll make that suggestion.
Welcome, Arlene.
Hi, Arlene.
Good morning, everybody. We're up to 10.
That has a video running in the background of Aurora.
Yeah, it's one of the backgrounds that's provided with Zoom.
I didn't know you could run videos. That's good to know.
Oh, I haven't been able to find how to run my own video in the background. Every time I try to put one, it says it's not the right resolution or something. So I've given up on trying to put video backgrounds, except for the ones provided by Zoom, and they're to their own specification or whatever.
Yeah, so when you can do videos in the background, it takes more resources off of your computer, and it takes more video bandwidth because the scene's always changing. And so in some ways, if you're having trouble with communications, I tend to turn those things off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the option of using videos. I just have.
It depends on the capability of the hardware on your device. Zoom will not allow it if it feels your hardware isn't up to it.
Stanley, that's you.
Have you got an
Stanley?
have you got an airplane going by?
Yes, I do.
I would have muted him, but I'm not a co-host, so I can't.
Oh, I'll co-host you.
Does that happen often, Stan?
Oh, yeah, about 16 times a day.
Oh, wow.
I'm west of the airport. And
Yeah, us in the neighborhood know how to do the Point Loma pause.
yeah, right.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, there was a particular meteorological situation where we heard very, very loud plane takeoffs from Lindbergh. And much louder than normal. And I think it was because we had a special weather condition. Don't hear it now.
How many
Yeah.
of you remember the days in Starlight Theater when the light?
Oh,
They
yeah.
freeze.
Yeah.
I always thought that was one of the most charming things in theater anywhere, was to see actors and actresses stop in mid-sentence and in mid-movement, some of them standing on foot while they waited for the light to go by. It was wonderful.
All right. Well, Alice is here, so I think we have a quorum.
We're almost 100%. The only one not in just yet is Ray Slater. Otherwise, we're 100%.
Very good. That's excellent.
Yeah, it is good.
I'm going to
Before you
declare our
start,
board.
Stan,
Yeah.
before you start, let me make a suggestion. You will notice everyone that Hank and Stanley and some others have Win 10 after their name. If you would rename yourself with the system you're using, it will help us when we get the Q&A to know where the questions are coming from. You just go up to your, well, I go to participants. I click participants, and then to the right of my name, I see a box that says more, and when I click that, I get the option to rename myself. And I've added the Win 10 to the end of that. Thank you, and go ahead, Stan.
All right. Thank you, Hank. Thank you for hosting this meeting. Call to order. Okay. Acknowledgement of guests. I guess Dan is a guest. Anyway, welcome, Dan. And who?
Bobby.
Bobby Meyer.
Oh, yeah, Bobby just showed up. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Proceeding with our board meeting. Agenda changes. I have one item that it's on the agenda. I have one other item. I've received a request of resignation from Barbara Wilkinson, and we will take care of that during the president's report. So add that to 5.2, I guess. And any other suggestions of changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we will proceed with minutes of the previous meeting. We've all received the minutes. I have a copy. Is there any suggestions of changes or motion to accept as presented?
Move to accept as presented.
And I will second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? No.
Well,
All
I
in
just
fa-
want to make one quick comment, and that is I really appreciate the help because that's why you got two copies of both Miriam and Saul, I believe it was, had some very good suggestions, and that's why I redid it, just clarified. But thank you very much.
Did I get it on the website? Do you know, Alice?
I just sent it to you by email. So you should have had it.
Oh, I'm sure I do. Question is, what did I do with it? I'll figure that out.
All right.
That's a different question.
Yeah, I can't help you there.
Well, what I'm supposed to do is put it on the website so everybody can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure I did. I'll look.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. President's report. This meeting is being held using Hank's AppSug Zoom account. And in previous board meetings, the last few months, I've been hosting it using the walkabout version of Zoom. And the only real feature that I can think of that's different is that the chat window allows individuals to chat with other individuals on the walkabout account. That also, using the walkabout account of Zoom does increase the chore of myself and Hank insofar of getting the recording and translating and having a different address for some meetings versus others. So I just wanted to bring it up to see whether there's a feeling that we need to revert to the walkabout account that has the opportunity to chat individually. Hank has his hand up.
Yeah, I have a comment. I want to tell people why we can't do it on this version of Zoom. I tried, and the response I got back from the person that runs this Zoom account for all the AppSug chapters that use this, a lot of them that do, was that they had found that when people could chat with each other during a Zoom meeting, that it tended that people would start off-topic conversations one-on-one with each other and would hijack the meeting so that people were paying attention to the chat instead of paying attention to the meeting. And they therefore declined to set it up the way that Stan has it set up, or that Walkabout has it set up. Over.
Okay. I would accept a motion to, either continue or discontinue. All right, I'll accept somebody composing their own motion since I don't make them anyway.
So
Is it necessary that we have a motion?
Not really. I guess if we just get a consensus of one way or the other.
So
Do we want to have individual chat is the question. Anybody think?
I don't see any reason to.
I don't see any advantage.
David has his hand up.
my only
Dave.
point, my only point was that, if, since we can only talk to Hank or, host or co-hosts, the hosts and co-hosts need to monitor the chat to make sure that any questions get relayed properly to the group.
That's
Hello,
not
Stan.
true, David.
That's changeable, and I've changed it already for this meeting that people can post to everyone, David.
Yeah,
Okay, in my chat, I don't see anyone. I can go to, okay, you can go to everyone, I see.
Yeah, by default, the AppSug account doesn't allow that, but it's changeable during the meeting.
yeah. You can change it to be no one host and co-host or everyone. And I have usually changed it to everyone. I forgot to this time, but Saul backed me up.
Thank you.
And let's just be sure we do that, Saul. You or I or someone else remind us.
David.
Oh, all right, I sense that the consensus is that we continue using the AppSug Zoom account for all our meetings.
Right.
Any objections?
As long as it's free, grab it.
Right, yeah. Okay, we'll just let that be in the minutes and we'll continue with the AppSug account. All right, the other item, Barbara, would you like to address the board and express your concerns and wishes?
Okay, I didn't expect that. Yeah, I did send a memo to Stanley requesting that I be replaced on the board because I do not feel I have the time to do the job that the position needs to be done. And I'm so kind of involved with my health related issues of physical therapy and doctors and all that other stuff that I just find I cannot devote the time that I think it needs to get a good job done. So that's what I did, but I still plan on attending the meetings and supporting in whatever way I can.
Barbara, would you be willing to be a director at large if that position were available? Right now, it appears it is not, since we have 5 directors at large.
Let me understand better. Barbara, are you the VP for publicity?
Publicity, correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's a job that really ought to have some time spent on it.
Right.
Incidentally, in the agenda, I have intentionally made the agenda to indicate our officers and directors at large. All officers have an item number in the agenda. So you can see that the president's report is followed by the VP administration, which is followed by programs, and then followed by publicity, and followed by treasurer's report. And then item 13 is a list of directors at large. I have intentionally made that in the agenda so that you could quickly see who has which position.
Thank you.
And if Barbara chooses to resign as VP programs, that leaves a vacancy in elected officers.
So that is not her position.
VP publicity, Stanley.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said.
My apologies. Yes, publicity. I misspoke. Thank you for catching me.
Well, we can't allow Hank to retire. It's just not going to happen.
The only one who's caught. Welcome to the club, Stanley.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Anyway, I think I will simply, as president, accept with reluctance Barbara's resignation and move forward. I would like to see somebody express an interest in taking over that position. But in the meantime, we'll simply proceed. Is that acceptable to the board?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's appropriate, and we should say thank you, Barbara, for your service that you have rendered to us.
Thank you for putting up with me.
And if you think of any place that we ought to publicize ourselves, just tell one of the rest of us. I think we could all be good publicity people. More ideas of where to pub.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
Okay, moving forward, item 6, VP administration.
Yes, the only thing I don't have a report on is whether Wesley Palm has ever changed their newsletter to to show that our meeting is held at 10:30 and not 9:30. And right now, we don't have anybody from Wesley Palms on our Zoom session, so we can't verify that. But I'll try to find out before the next meeting if that change has been made. Other than that, I don't have any other things to report at this time.
Thank you. Moving program, item 7, Hank, programs report.
I am sad to report that I have not received any new suggestions for about 4 weeks. And so I have one more that's on the calendar for next week. And I would be most grateful for suggestions of even just the subject that somebody will have a discussion about. I'll find somebody that discusses it. That's all.
All right, moving forward. To the treasurer's report. Miriam. There's Miriam. There she is.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm a little sick. I thought I had COVID, but I had a COVID test and they said, no, I've got a bad cold is what I've got. With lots of sneezing and runny nose. But at any rate, we had 2 transactions last month. One was, I paid for one of our 501c3 things we had to do, and I have finished. I've done all, there's 4 of them you got to do. I did all 4 that were done for this year. And the other one was income from Amazon Smile. And I hope I'm not the only one that's causing this money to come in, but whenever I make an Amazon purchase, I put it on Smile and we keep getting $5 a month periodic, so it's doing okay. So for Alice, the account was at $4,853.04 at the beginning of the month, and it is now at $4,833.83. And all that numbers and the reports are in an email that I sent, unfortunately, a little late yesterday.
Okay. Thank you, Miriam.
Hang on just a minute. I just want to make
yes.
sure. I printed off the cash flow by month. And then I printed off the net worth. Is there another one that listed that beginning and ending balance?
The email itself.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, good enough. Thanks.
Miriam, I know you were expecting some mailing from the state. I've been checking the post office. For some reason, Pacific Beach Post Office is boarded up. They're doing some construction changes there, so I haven't been able to get to our mailbox.
Well, I was expecting the one from the Attorney General, and I just went ahead and did it without the reminder.
Okay.
So you have to do in California, you have to do the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. And then you do, I think, 2 to the feds. But at any rate, it's done.
Good.
Okay, thank you for that, Miriam. Do we need a approval?
Yes, I move we accept her report as submitted.
Seconded.
All those in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. I'd like to point out that I have had a Senior Computer Group as my Smile beneficiary, and every once in a while I get a report. I think it tells me how much I've donated over the entire time that I've been doing it, and it amounts to a grand total of $23 and change. So, and I do a fair amount of Amazon purchasing, and it's a 0.% something, I don't know what they get out of it, but it does count up, I guess. All right, we have a membership report. Will?
Yes, nothing has changed in the last couple of months. If I can go to share screen, I can show it.
You can.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see that
Yep.
spreadsheet?
Yep, that's
And
good.
Yeah.
as you can see, there have been essentially no changes at all this year. We are standing now at 40 active members, of which 9 are life members. We still have 12 members that have not renewed from last year and 1 new member. Any questions? If not, thank you.
Comment, I think it's time for me to go to the add-on list that I send for invitations to these meetings and politely put the arm on them to join. Because there's something like 60 people who get invited to this meeting every week who are not members.
So
How many was that, Hank?
60, I believe he said.
60.
60?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
I'll go back and I'll look while we do something else, but
Okay, Saul has his hand up.
I just have a question for Will on that list that he just showed us. It has a monthly row, and each one of those had 1 in the new member column. Does that mean we got a new member each one of those months?
No, that's the total for the year.
Okay, just really
Today.
deceptive. Thank you.
And Hank, I was just wondering,
David, go ahead.
Hank, I was just wondering on those, the long list that you send out to invites, how many people show up that are not members at the meetings?
not many.
Not many. Okay, well.
2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's of great benefit to ping people that aren't showing up. If they show up, I think we should say, if you're spending your time, you should spend a tiny bit of your money.
Yeah, the number is 47 on that list, not 60.
Whatever.
That's still more than we have active members.
I know.
Hank, is it possible to tell, or how difficult it is it to tell who is active participant and not a member? Is there any way to determine that those names?
Yeah, by noticing the names on the bottoms of all these faces.
That's right.
I mean, we have a couple of new people, PIP and Pat GH.
Pat is the other Pat.
Oh, okay.
He's in the meeting.
Might I ask Will, who does membership, to try to keep account of people on our general meetings who are not on our subscription, so we can tailor a message to those individuals, urging them to participate at a different level?
Okay, I can do that.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. Barbara?
Yeah,
That's
I'd like to recommend that the 12 people that renewed their membership be contacted directly and see if they are still interested.
I've already renewed. Why would we be?
Well, if they have not renewed.
Oh, they've not renewed. Oh, yes, the 12 people that did not renew.
They
Right.
have been contacted multiply, and the
Oh,
answer is that they do not want to renew.
okay. Thank you.
All right. Moving forward. Old business, anything that people feels that need to be brought up? One way or the other, old business, new business, anything anyone would like to contribute? All right, we'll move forward to recognition of directors at large. Ray Slater, would you like to make any observation about our meeting today or anything?
No, I don't have anything special. It's pretty typical, and I've been able to follow it pretty well.
All right, Arlene, do you have any observations?
I had a lot of interruptions in the meeting today where the screen would freeze and then a minute or two later it would come back to life once I actually had to log in again. And I don't know whether that's my situation or somebody else's.
Chances are it relates to your situation. You might indicate what system you're on.
She says iPad.
Oh, it does. I'm sorry. My apologies.
And I have Spectrum as my internet supplier.
Do you have a way
Okay.
to check your internet speed? Chances are you're having a very low internet speed for that to happen.
I better not, because I pay a lot of money to have high speed.
Yeah, that's why it's important to check it and then complain to Spectrum if you don't have what you're paying for. Because I'm in that same situation. I'm paying for 400 megabit and I'm getting much less than that.
Well, every time I've checked it, it's been good, although I did not check it this morning because I was trying to get back to the meeting.
Yeah, my guess, Arlene, is that it's just an intermittent issue with your internet.
Are you on Wi-Fi or are you directly wired into your modem?
She's on an iPad. I think she's on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi.
Can you hook your modem up to, can you hook your iPad up to your modem with a wire?
No,
That's not doable, David, right?
no,
Okay.
it's Wi-Fi only.
Not easily.
Okay, moving forward. David, any observations?
Other than, with Wi-Fi things, I've noticed that I can have Wi-Fi problems when my system hasn't changed, but somebody else turns on some other device that's using up the same bandwidth, and you get collisions. And so one of the things I sometimes do on my modem, I can choose which channel I'm trying to transmit on. And sometimes you can improve things by finding a freer channel. But as far as comments, I just want to thank all the people that make this group run, including Hank and Stanley and Will and Saul, and all the people that provide all the information to the questions, which would include Ross as well. And I just am very pleased to be part of this group.
Thank you for that. Thank you. All right, Jim Fugachi. Jim, care to say a few words?
You need to say them out loud. We're not hearing you.
I see the mouth moving and it does not say muted, so.
Well, you'll have to post in the chat.
And it's okay. You can do it to everyone.
Okay, moving forward, Saul.
I'll echo David's sentiments and leave it at that.
Thank you. All right, our next meeting, July 9th. And going to adjourn the meeting and turn it over to Hank and Will for our Q&A.
Actually, well, one point before we go, I just wanted to recognize Stanley as having a birthday, at least celebration coming up. And if I'm sure most people here have got an invite, but I wanted to just sort of make that known to people again that I think that's tomorrow, Stanley, sometime.
Yeah, and Saul is going to host a Zoom meeting of it. And if anybody's, some of you may have not gotten my invitation. And if any of you would like to join at least a Zoom meeting of my 90th celebration, drop me a note and I'll send you a link. Let me put it that way. And I know a few of you do plan on attending, and I'm glad for that. And I apologize for not inviting anybody. But when you have a 90th birthday party, you can choose to run the RSVP list as you see fit.
Penny has her hand up.
Hi, Penny.
Yeah, I'm sorry I got here late. I got really busy with stuff, but I take it this is kind of an introduction class. And I wanted to say I can use my computer, but I don't know how to use it accurately and press the right buttons that I need.
Okay, well, just for clarification, this is a regular Saturday meeting that is not a class, it's a discussion group where we try to solve problems. And today and every second Saturday, the first hour is occupied with a board meeting, which is what we have been doing at this point in time. And now it's going to change to a Q&A session with Will Wakely and Hank hosting. And so your questions can be addressed then, but we need to transition into that. And there's a couple hands up before we go to that. Will, are you?
Yeah, I wanted to welcome Penny to our group. I hadn't seen you. Is this your first meeting with us, Penny?
Yes, it is.
How did you find out about us? I don't recognize you. You're a member of our group.
I found out through ABI. They said they had the ability to go through a computer class, and that's how I got the information.
AVI?
It's acquired brain injury class. I'm 55 and I have a brain injury like 28 years ago. And I take the class just to take the class. And they know that I have problems, so to speak, with my computer. And they thought this would be interesting and something that would help.
Well, good. I think you've come to the right place. We do have a way of answering questions that people have if they're not way above our head, which we have a lot of folks here who are pretty proficient in computers. So hopefully we can answer your questions and help you out.
All right, well, thank you.
I would suggest that we go on with the two hands that are raised and then come back to Penny and get better description of her problem. Which brings us to Patricia.
Oh, wow, that was quick. I thought I had more time to get my questions. Well, first of all, I happy birthday, Stan. And I don't know if I got this because I don't do my email regularly, maybe once a week. So could you put your email in the chat and I'll email you? What time is it tomorrow, by the way?
The Zoom meeting will be available between 2:30 and 8 p.m. The core time is between 3 and 4. And I will put a link to the meeting in the chat window to everyone. And you can cut and paste that Zoom chat. As a matter of fact, making sure I get it right. Saul, would you do that? Put the meeting link in the chat window for those present?
I don't know that I have it readily available in front of me. But
okay, never mind. I don't need to do anything more because the board meeting is over. I will put it in the chat window.
yeah,
So
I can get it, but I don't have it right at my fingertips.
Okay, there will be a in-presence party, but for the purposes of this group, if you haven't received that, I will extend the Zoom meeting invitation to everyone. So anyway, I will give the Zoom meeting link to everyone present in the discussion today via the chat window.
Okay.
And anything else, Pat?
Well, yeah, I have, I'm doing those classes with the San Diego Community College and all that. So periodically, Mary Burns makes an announcement that, we've got the senior computer group, and every now and then I'll see someone come there. But, there's also, the Fleet Space Theater has every first Monday, not next Monday, because I guess it's July 4th, but they have a senior group that meets. So I was wondering if I approach them in some fashion to make an announcement about the senior computer group. I mean, is that going to be okay with everyone?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Publicity is publicity, wherever you can get it.
Oh, and FYI, this particular Monday, they had, because it was June 6th, so it was D-Day. They had a wonderful IMAX theater on the D-Day. It was really, really wonderful. I don't know if they're still showing it, but you might want to see it. They also have Top Gun Maverick might be coming back over the July 4th weekend. FYI.
I'm going to be 90 over the July 4th weekend. Just FYI.
Oh, wow.
I just turned 91 last couple of weeks ago.
More things to celebrate.
That's right.
Oh my
Whoopee.
God. This is really the senior group, the senior.
It is indeed. Oh, by the way, more
Tricia's
on,
taking her hand down, and Will, who's supposed to answer these questions, has his up.
yeah, I want to make a comment on what Patricia just said, that if people are not aware of it, every Tuesday, Balboa Park has free museum entrances, different one on each Tuesday. So if you go to the Balboa Park website, you can get a listing of what museums are open on what Tuesday. And unfortunately, it gets pretty busy down there because everybody discovers that the museums are free. So it's important that you get there at the right time. But anyway, I wasn't aware that there was a free Monday for Reuben Fleet. Glad to hear about that one.
Oh, no, it's not free. It's just cheap. So for $10, and the prices at Fleets, but for $10, you get a lecture from somebody from UCSD or wherever on some subject. So you get the free lecture at 10:30. You start lining up at 9:30. They don't open up till 10. So you get the free lecture from 10:30 to 11:30. At noon, they usually pull some movie from the archives, and they've switched from analog to digital. So we're seeing a lot of the same stuff, but you can see any movie. So you can get the lecture at 10:30 and then any movie for $10. And if you've ever been to Fleets, that's quite a good deal.
Okay, I heard you use the word free earlier.
Fleets Space Theater, Reuben H.
Fleet, not free.
Reuben
Oh,
H.
no, not free. It's not free. They used to give free coffee, but not anymore.
Okay, thank you. All right, Q&A questions. Anybody have problems that they want to bring up?
Let's ask Penny to describe her situation, and let's see if we can figure out what we could do for her. So Penny, can you talk to us?
Yeah, my big thing is that I will have somebody sit in here and do things on my computer because I have no acknowledgement. And to me, I can open it up, it comes on automatically, and go to the different spaces I'm supposed to go to, or read kind of what I'm supposed to, or write what I'm supposed to. But when I need to transfer one section to another section, I have no idea how to do that. And I have problems going to different things and leaving one part on the screen and going to another part. And it's just really frustrating. I don't know the main requirement, or I do know the main requirements of the computer by turning it on, but I don't know a whole lot more than that. And I wanted to kind of learn what that was.
What sort of computer do you have, Penny?
I have it says it's Intel. I don't know. It's a laptop computer.
But it's running Windows?
Yeah.
And do you know what version of Windows you're running?
I have no idea.
If it's one of the later ones, there are two versions, Windows 10 and Windows 11. Unless it's very, very new, it's probably Windows 10.
Well, it is new. I've had it for about 6 or 7 months, so it's fairly new.
Chances are then it may be Windows 11.
I have no idea.
Well, Will, I don't know if Dan has something to contribute, but his virtual hand is up.
Sure, Dan. Dan Ebenhart?
Yes, this is not on that subject, so if you want to continue on that subject, go on.
Okay. I was going to say to Penny that there are basic computer classes, and you might want to explore attending one of those if you can. Some of those are through the Community College District, and others are through the San Diego Futures Foundation. Futures, plural, Foundation. And they offer them at some of the library locations and some of the senior centers. And so you might explore some of those, because it sounds like it would be helpful to do more one-on-one with you and be able to show you some of the basic ways to use a computer.
Yeah. Now, is all this online, or do you have to physically go? Obviously the library, but you have to physically go to the classes?
The San Diego Futures Foundation are in person. And the ones at the Community College District, I believe they used to be in person. I don't know if they've all switched to Zoom or not right now, but I don't know.
Yeah, but Patricia, in your classes with Mary Burns, are they
all
in
Zoom
person?
now. They're all
They're all
Zoom.
on Zoom.
The computer classes are Zoom. Other classes in the whole, may not be, but the computers are all Zoom stuff.
So Penny,
Let
I
me
think it's
ask Penny something. Penny, do you know how to Google for things?
Not really, no. And that's part of my problem. I'm not really big on that. I know how to turn it on.
I think we ought to, I think one of the first things we ought to try to help you with is learning how to Google. Google is a search system and a search engine, and they will give you answers to almost any question you ask. I won't guarantee that all of the answers are complete or totally true, but most of them are, and it's really useful. Let me see if I can show you.
And Hank, I'd also recommend the hundreds of videos that you have on the Seniors Computer Group website. Some of those will certainly cover computer basics, like something I think Penny alluded to is something like copy and paste, or some basic, really fundamental stuff of sort of computing 101 level stuff.
Okay, I will show her that and everybody else right now. Let me just hold on. I need to move some things out of the way here. And yeah, all right. That's probably good enough. No, it isn't. I need to get this out of here. Put that down there. There. Now, Penny, can you see on your computer now what I'm talking about? I have my calendar up right now because that's the last thing I was running when before I screen. Okay, now I'm sharing my Google Chrome screen because my browser is Google Chrome. You see up here where the title of what we're looking at is, it says calendar.google.com.
Yes, I see that.
I can click over here on the far right where it says new tab. And when I do that, I get a Google search window. You see that now?
Yes. I get that when I open up my computer. It gives me that, tells me where I want to go.
Okay, so this is what you do to what I call Google, the verb to Google. You type up here in the search box or down here. The same thing happens no matter what you do. You type how do whoops, no, you don't. You type DO, not TO. How do I copy and paste something from one place to another?
Okay.
And then you type enter. And here you will get a suggestion as to how to copy and paste text in a document.
Okay.
And if you scroll down, you'll find a video on copy and cut and paste. And all you have to do is click there and a video will play and tell you how to copy and paste.
Okay.
Here's how to copy and paste for beginners. It's a Microsoft Word skills document.
Okay.
So that's what I suggest you do with the simplest thing that you don't know how to do on your computer. You try to make it a short sentence. How do I something? And try to make this whole thing fit in not more than about what I have here.
Okay.
And then read them and play the videos and come up with some questions about something and come back with a more specific question next week after you have mastered the basic thing that you've decided to Google.
Okay.
Penny, there's also a very valuable asset called YouTube, and it's a website that contains thousands, if not millions, of videos with answers to almost any question that you have. But what's nice is it shows it as a video and not as a text. And so it's much easier to understand what's going on. Have you been able to get into YouTube at all?
A little bit. You don't have to have your code or anything.
No, it's free.
No, it's all free.
And again, you can get there from this search. Just type in YouTube, YOUTUBE, all one word, and it will take you to that site in which you can then ask additional questions and zero in on whatever your problem is and play the video, and you will find that there's vast assets of information available for free. I use it all the time.
All right, well,
Someone suggested a few minutes ago that I show her how to get to the resources page on the Seniors Computer Group website.
Hank, why don't you search for us on Google first?
Huh?
Search for us on Google first.
I did. Search for what? Oh,
The San Diego Seniors Computer Group.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I was going to go directly there, but I'll do that. Hold on a minute. There. Okay, so in Google, type Seniors Computer Group. Seniors Computer Group. Click. Free computer training for seniors.
Yeah, that says club, not group.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, Seniors Computer Group. Computer help and instruction. The thing you want to look for is the initials of Senior Computer Group San Diego, scgsd.org. That's our website. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. When you get there, you click on it and you get our website. Come on, mouse. There we go. Our website, there are a couple of places that you should probably go. The first one is resources. And when you click that, the first thing that comes up is my mini seminars. And when you click that, you get a list of about 100 mini seminars. These are all on YouTube.
Okay.
And you get to them by clicking on the blue thing over on the right. And it goes everywhere from beginners and other endangered species to computer basics to, some of these are really old. You know, you see, this shows what we were using when what I was using when I made these. And this one was made in October of 2012. That's 10 years ago. and I was running Windows 7. But you might find some of them interesting. The ones that will probably be most useful to you will be the ones that say Win 10 over here. Someone gave me a computer. What do I do with it? You might want to play that for fun. And these go on and on and on. As I said, there are over 100 of them. I've been doing this for what, 15 years, guys? I
2
suppose.
years, huh?
Yeah. Anyway, here, this goes all the way back to XP in 2012. But you could find some useful things in here, perhaps. As Will said, there are videos, and videos are sometimes easier to understand and apply than a long written text. So if we go back to the website here, I think, yeah, resources. Here's resources. You will find other things here. We have our own Facebook page. We have askleo.com. We have askdavetaylor.com. These are all people who teach computer stuff.
Okay.
So I've probably given you enough to keep you very busy for more than 1 week.
Okay.
And way over here on the right, there's even computer help. And there are people in this organization, especially the one at the top, that with his phone number, who will help you with a specific computer question.
Okay.
And the things that those of us who are on this page have said we're reasonably competent in are listed here.
Okay.
Okay, that's the Seniors Computer Group website, and I will get out of here.
If I might add, you might look for a book called Windows 11 for Dummies, or there's one for seniors, Windows 11 for Seniors. Amazon has the books. You might find them in a local library. To me, it's kind of like saying I'm learning to spell, and you got to learn the alphabet first. So I recommend, if at your point, is you get one of the books and go through it as much as you can, half an hour a day maybe, and just go through those steps that it's asking for you to do. Once at a certain point, again, once you learn the alphabet and the basic syntax, then you can start creating words and then creating sentences, but you have to have the foundation first. And I think that might help you learn how to learn the concept of moving information from one page to another, say from an email into the word processor or the other way around. That copy and paste, as what Hank mentioned. But again, I would start with one of the books at the beginning and just go through it. And it's going to be tough and boring, but at a certain point, you'll say, "Oh, that's what they were talking about."
All right. Well, thank you.
And one of my many seminars is computer terms. I can't remember where it is in here, but if you scroll down, you'll find it. There is all sorts of words and terms. As Ross said, you need to learn the language, and there's a whole video on the language in here somewhere. I have your email, and I will. You're the one that I gave the link to this morning. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got your email. I'll send you the link to this one on computer terms.
Okay.
All right, all. Thank you.
Okay, Dan.
Dan's got his hand up again.
It's been up. I just had some information to pass along here. One is the San Diego Union from Wednesday, June 1st. They had a whole page of articles on retirees' road ahead. And they talk about the interface with computers and so on and so forth, and a lot of groups that are working on that we may want to get involved with or talk to some of these people. I don't know. But anyway, it's a whole page. They talk about San Diego Seniors Community Foundation and the Sham Family Foundation. Initial support for
Where?
3-year pilot program.
Where is this, Dan?
It's in the Union Tribune newspaper, Wednesday, June 1st.
I doubt that any of us have that bill. That's 10, 11 days ago.
You can get it online.
Can you, you can get it online?
Yeah,
Sure.
okay, if you have a subscription, you can go back, I think, a month or two and get old copies of, or, look at old copies of the newspaper.
30 days, actually, just 30 days.
Somebody want to volunteer to do that?
What section of the paper was it in, Dan? Was it A?
B3.
The local, okay. Yeah,
By
it's,
the way, the Union Trib has a special deal, $8 a week, I believe, for Sunday, and then electronic of all the other days. Email, which is a pretty good deal because I actually only get the Sunday one for the comics. So it's not worth a lot more than that.
A lot of times you can just look up the person that wrote the article and find a copy of it.
So Dan, which day was that? I've got my browser open.
June 1st.
June 1st, okay.
Sounds like David is doing what I looked for a volunteer to do.
Section B, local.
Pat, I see someone by the name of Pat GH. Is that you also? Or is that a different Pat?
no, that's me. That's my phone. So I can do my laundry and drag you around the house, that's all.
I have another comment. Wow. While David is looking for that, Hank asked for suggestions. Hank, I sent you an email February 22nd on some suggestions, mostly about online security and several websites that had presentations on those online security.
Okay, February 22nd, huh?
Yes.
And I have the
Second,
retirees road ahead, if we want to share that on screen.
And that's you, Dan, that sent that on February 22nd?
That's correct.
Okay, I'll go back and look. Thank you.
That date, Hank, would be 2/22/22.
Cool.
And I think it occurred on a Tuesday.
Okay.
Well, it's Wednesday.
No, it's Wednesday.
Patricia.
Yeah, I have like an old question. I probably should know how to do this, but I've been trying, it's not working. But all of the info that Stan put on the chat window, is there a way of, because I haven't figured it out, it's not working for me, where I can just copy and paste that somewhere? Because I thought I could do that, but it's not working. So is there a way of just copy and pasting it? On, like on the desktop is actually what I wanted to do. Can I do that? Is that possible?
If it's a website in the chat window, it should be blue and underlined, and all you should have to do is click on it, and it'll take you there.
Well, no, don't want it now. I was going to send it to Fran, but
You should be able to highlight it and do Control-C and copy it.
Pat,
I know that. Okay.
Pat,
yes. So
if you put your mouse pointer over the link, can you right click and see if it gives you a context menu and allow you to select copy?
oh, okay. Well, that'd be one thing, but I also want the other things besides the, besides the blue.
Hey, Pat,
Fine.
I just checked on mine. If I go over to the chat and I right click in it, it says select all. And that should be able to, that you can then copy that and then paste it into a text document.
Oh, okay. So I got to get a text document. I can't kind of do it on my desktop or something.
You have to paste it into a document. It's a piece of text.
Oh, okay. Well, I made a folder. So does that count or not?
It needs to be a file.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Open up a word processor or any other type of text
Yeah.
type of application and just put it in there, or an new email message. And you could put it in the body of the email message.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Any place you can paste to, which is Penny is seeing us use the terms that she would be learning about this week.
I hope so, because I have no idea what you're talking about, so to speak.
Okay.
Okay, before we were talking about that newspaper article, I have that on my window that I can share if people are interested.
Okay.
So basically there's this thing here, but basically it is on Wednesday, June 1st. And, you know, it's got several different articles and it's got more programs for retirees. On the web version of the Union Tribune, I just click on the article and then it brings up all of the text of the article. And then I can go and, you know, print it, make it bigger or smaller and everything. But yeah, that's what they were referring to. Also, I went and found this Windows 11 for Seniors for Dummies. I found that, and I found a free PDF to download for this. So you should not have to buy it. And it is a total of 524 pages long. So that will keep any one of us busy for a week. And I think that's about all. So
Where did you find that, David?
I went and looked for Windows 11 for Seniors for Dummies. And I looked, I think it was here, PDF for Windows.
The one you showed was under archive.org, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, archive.org. Okay, so I went there and then I just said download the PDF, 33.7 megabytes. So anyway, that's all that I had. And let me just stop that. Stop share. And I'll stop my share. There we are.
Okay, anything else, Pat?
No,
Okay, Miriam?
thanks.
And Will, just to let you know, Mary Ray has her actual hand up.
Oh, okay, Mary.
All right, I am trying to copy that stuff out of the chat. And I was able to copy the first two lines, the HTTPS : / that part. But when it says PW password, that part I cannot capture.
It's all part of one long URL.
Well,
So-
that's what I thought it was, and I couldn't do it as one piece. So I was going to do two pieces, but I can't get the second piece.
You probably don't need it. You don't need password. probably.
Miriam, as
Yeah.
David, I think suggested, if you just right click in some white space anywhere in the chat box, there should be a select all. Do
Okay.
do you see that? Yeah.
Okay, now I have select all.
Then
Oh,
you
and I can just
then you
copy
could
all the
then you
whole
could
thing.
do a copy from there. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Actually,
That's
when
all
I, yeah, did it work for you, Miriam? Because for me, it didn't.
I'm
work.
trying. I'm trying. I've got it copied. I'm gonna put it in.
I did 2 emails, so now I gotta find the email. That's gonna be
Yes, it did work for me.
fun. Okay, let me try again.
For Penny's benefit, you need to be aware of copy and paste, Penny. Control C for copy, and the control button V for paste it back in again somewhere else. Those two keystrokes are probably used more than anything else on my computer. And
What was
whenever
the
you need to
second
copy something and then paste it somewhere else, those two keystrokes are very important.
What was the second one? I got,
The first one is Control C for copy.
right?
They did Control V because it's the next character over from C on the keyboard, I believe.
Yeah.
I never understood why they did Control V for pasting it back in again.
Oh, it's a
But that's the
character.
only reason I can see is that it was the next key over.
Yeah.
from-
If you ever did copy editing, you'd know a V is to insert information.
Oh,
It's a
thank you.
character.
It's a little insert arrow.
And,
Thank you.
and Control P, which you might think was paste, is actually print. And that was probably already taken.
There are all kinds of shortcut keys that sometimes you might want to look those up. I expect probably Hank has those on his mini seminars of
Can we go to Mary Ray? She has her physical
Yeah,
hand
Mary.
up and she needs to unmute and then we can hear you. Got it.
Okay, you can hear me now.
yes.
Yes,
Windows 10 book came out in 2020. What year did the Windows 11 come out in?
About 5 months ago.
Okay, so it's 22, it's the latest. It's better than the 10?
That's up for discussion.
Oh, well,
It's
Some-
newer.
Some say yes. Microsoft says it's better than the 10, but I don't always believe everything that Microsoft says when they're selling
Yeah.
something.
So Mary Ray, I think right now, a lot of people are sticking with Windows 10 until Windows 11 gets over its birthing pangs and they fix the bugs that came out with it.
okay. But this can be used with any computer. I have an Apple computer.
No, Apple has its own operating systems. I'll let Saul talk to the Apple. He's our Apple guy.
So there's probably a dummies book for Mac also, if you have a Mac, and I would just look for that type of book. There's keyboard shortcuts that are comparable, but they generally use what's called the command key on a Mac instead of the control key. Other than that, they're pretty much identical, same letters.
So I need to call Apple up and ask them, what's the name of the book?
The book may not be published by Apple. I'm just saying whoever writes the dummy series could be anybody.
Yeah.
That's what I would need to ask Apple. What book do they recommend that uses their system?
Yeah, you don't need to ask Apple. I'm just saying you could search online, as was demonstrated earlier in this meeting, and just look for something like dummies for Mac,
Well,
and whatever comes up will
fine.
probably suit your needs.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Penny?
Yeah, you guys said a word that we had to push shift. Is that what it was you were talking about?
No, it's a control. There's right below the shift one, there's usually one that's labeled CTRL that stands for control.
Yeah.
Both shift and control are what are called modifier keys. They change what the key does. So if I hold down a shift, I get a capital. If I don't hold down the shift, I get a lowercase.
Right. You're right on that. I know that.
Yeah, and if I hold down a control, I'll get the control function for that key. If I don't hold it down, the control is just typing the C or the V or the X. So it modifies what that key does by holding down the control and then typing the letter.
Okay.
Here's an example. I'm sharing my screen. If I want, I've just typed something in Microsoft Word. It makes no sense at all. But if I wanted to copy that, first thing I would do would be to highlight it like that. Now I'm holding down the control key on my computer and I'm going to type the C key. And I've done that now. And if I now put my cursor down here and type Control plus V, it pastes what I just copied into a different place in that same document. Or I could open a new document and paste it there. It's still right now, I've pasted it once, but it's still on what is called my clipboard on my computer. So wherever I go, if I go to, let's see, I go over here to, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, your screen went dark.
Anyway, wherever I go, if I go to a new Word document, for example, come on, new Word document, where are you? There you are. Now, if I type Control V again, it pastes it once more in this new document, whatever I copied before.
I'm not sure we're seeing your new document. I think you're only sharing the window, not there.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
You might want to get to Alice before she forgets her question.
Oh, you're right. I was going to give up here, actually, because you all touched on it anyway. I was going to ask Ross. I see that they're getting more aggressive with wanting you to switch to Windows 11. What's been your experience? Are you still? I don't want to do it unless I absolutely have to. But even at work, it comes up all the time. Are we still better off to just wait?
So I don't know of any reason not to at this point. In other words, if you go to a Windows 11, you're going to lose this. But on the same thing, I don't know if you go to a Windows 11, what you can do that you can't with 10. So at this point, I don't see any reason to go to 11. Yes, you can, in that box that comes up and says, you can go to Windows 11. You know, there's usually a box on there that says, don't bother me anymore.
Right.
Go away. So it's not going to force you to.
That's exactly right. And I guess what's going to change if you go to Windows 11? What kind of changes?
It makes the user interface a little more like Apple, as far as where there is a launch pad at the bottom that you use, and it's a little more Apple-ish than Windows 10. But to say again that there's something that you can't do in Windows 10 that you have to go to 11, there isn't anything.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay,
if you
good.
go to buy a new computer, you are not going to be able to find one with 10 on it.
Got it.
It's going to have to be 11. But the people that when they buy a new computer, like move all the information from one computer to the other, very quickly they say, oh, I have to click here instead of click there. And that's all that it's necessary.
Got it. Thanks.
You know those abbreviations like ROFLAMO? I won't tell you what that stands for, but some of you know. Ross just gave us a new one. DBMA. Don't bother me anymore. Yeah, my computer, but I'm looking for it.
You're just on that topic of Windows 11. I saw an interesting story this week saying that Microsoft had put out an update to that incorrectly announced to a whole bunch of different computers that they were able to update to Windows 11. And if you thought that, oh, my computer wasn't able to and now I can, that is wrong. And if you don't do it. They're announced that was an error. And because what could happen is if you do update to Windows 11, you have 30 days to roll back, or else it will you will not be able to roll back. And then the only choice you have is to reinstall a fresh Windows 10, which means you'll lose a lot of your settings.
Yeah.
Further on to our discussion of control and paste, I have been using a third-party clipboard called ClipMate. Been using it for years, and I probably use that utility every day more than anything else. And what it does is augment this control and paste capability such that you can save all kinds of things that you have done a save and store them for as long as you want, put them into different folders. And I find it very, very useful. It does cost, I think I originally paid $20 or something for it, but take a look at a third-party clipboard, you'll find that it's very, very useful. And the normal clipboard will only hold one copy of a copy and paste, whereby one of these third-party programs will hold an unlimited number of copies. So one I use is called ClipMate, M-A-T-E. That's all.
Patricia.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of belaboring the point here. Well, the email thing worked fine and I've sent that off.
Yeah.
But back when I had and this might be related to what Will was talking about, but I used to have, when I had my Dell, I had, it wasn't Pages, I guess it was Word. And so what I could do on the dock was have an open document. So I just had to click on it and then I could paste to that quickly. This might be a question for Saul, because is there a way of doing that with this Pages thing? I've never figured out how to do that because it always disappears. But is there a way I can have, the Pages app up, but also have a, just a blank document that I could paste to up as well?
Pages is Apple's version of a word processor.
Right.
And so it would work like any word processor, whether it's Microsoft Word, WordPerfect, any other word processor. Okay. So you should be able to do the same thing in Pages as you would do in Microsoft Word.
Yeah, I've never been able to figure out how to get the new document up just by itself without going through the whole rigmarole with Pages.
Well, it's the same way as is in Windows. If you close your Windows computer down, it's going to close Word and it's going to close that open document that you have. So you're going to have to open it back again when you bring Windows back up and say, okay, now I want to go to Word and bring up a blank document. So I expect that the Apple is going to be exactly the same way. Now, when you restart your Apple, there is a checkbox that says open everything back up the way it was before. And you can then say, I just want to restart it and clear memory, but I don't recommend that because usually restarting because you're having a problem. So if you open everything back up the way it was before, you're more likely going to have the same problem.
Right. Well, that brings up another question. How often should you be restarting your computer? I'm doing it a lot lately. I never used to do it a lot.
Depends on what your computer is doing. So if it's acting very sluggish and you're having problems, which I think we spoke about on yours, because you don't have a solid state drive, restarting the computer and not opening back everything the way it was before will close all of the programs that you have, release all the memory back to the computer, and then you only open up the things that you want to have. When a program opens, it takes memory from the pool. When it closes, it's supposed to give all the memory back, but it doesn't always do it correctly. So that's why one of the first things we always recommend to do is have you restarted your computer and try it again, because that solves most of the problems.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've been doing it a lot lately. So, okay.
I think I want to demonstrate something that Ross was just talking about and show you why. Let's see, where are we? Yeah, here we are. Okay. Here is, let's just go to a blank page, another one of this Google search page. Notice all this stuff up at the top. This is what I actually have running in Google Chrome right now, and it's something that I do every day. Whenever I start Google Chrome, all this stuff opens, including my email, which is here. There's all my email. I was searching for the group that I send to, adds to Zoom over here, the 44 addressees. Here's my calendar. It's running right now. Here's what the stock market did most recently. Hold on, that's taken too long. It's a wrong time. At any rate, and all of these things here are folders. in this folder, it's my finance folder, there are this many Yahoo Finance pages that show a particular, here's one, LABD. That's a particular stock and what it did the last time the stock market was open. And here's another one. All of those, if I shut down Chrome, will come back because I periodically go into settings in Chrome here and go to the first, the page that says, what happens when I start my computer? On startup right here, one of my choices is I could go down and use current pages, which is what I go through and click at least once a week, so that if I shut down my computer accidentally or on purpose, or if it shuts down on purpose, when I start Chrome again, it brings back all these pages. That's another folder of stuff. Here's another folder of stuff. Here's another folder of stuff. That's a lot of different pages of the internet, and every one of those will open again. But
And Hank, I wonder how long does it take your browser to start up?
all these, I have to go back and remake all these folders. Yes, who's answering it? Who's asking a question?
I was saying, how long does it take your browser to start up after you reboot? That all those pages are going to take a long time to load.
Maybe 60 seconds. No hands. Look, Ma, no hands.
So Penny or Mary Ray, do we have any other questions for today's session?
Well, my question is what it was just talking about. How would I know I could get that kind of stuff to put on my computer?
I wouldn't worry about it right now.
I don't even know how, I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Yeah, I think Hank was showing that he's a super user, and that's way above the class of all the rest of us.
All I was trying to demonstrate is that when you shut your computer down, Ross's comment that if you shut it down one way, the next time you start up is you start from scratch. And if you shut it down a different way, you come back to where you were before. And there's a lot of difference between that for some people, whether a super user or just grossly curious.
The restart back to where you were before, I believe, is only available in Apple. I don't know how to do that in Windows. So if you restart your Windows computer, it empties the memory pool and closes all the programs and does not reopen them. And that's generally what I recommend anyway.
Okay, everybody.
Especially if you're having problems, do one thing at a time and watch.
I hope that you have found this useful enough so you will come back next week armed with a question that we can quickly answer. Oh,
Mary Ray has a hand.
Yes. You said a term browser. Well, I looked into the index for Windows 10 what browser means, and there is no definition in the index.
well,
So a web browser is just a program on the computer, and it's used to render web pages, as they're called, which is what most people refer to as the internet.
When you get your email, you will be using a browser to.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Maybe when you get your email, Will.
Yeah.
But
When I get my email, I do it through a browser,
Yeah,
Chrome
yeah.
browser.
There's lots of dedicated email programs like Outlook.
all right, we're going good old Google again. And I'm going to,
What is a browser?
what is a browser?
Somebody said it's a program.
Hold
Yes.
on. We're going to ask Google, what is a browser?
Good, thanks.
Here is what is a browser. And here are a whole bunch of videos. Each one of these, I think, is a video.
Each one is a browser.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
oh,
are all
sorry. Each one is a
examples of
browser.
browsers.
What is a browser? A browser is a software program that displays web pages, whereas a search engine is a website that finds web pages from other websites. Okay, where do I find my browser? What is a browser in a computer? All of these things are answered if you go to Google and type in what is a browser and read.
And you use your browser to find out what a browser is.
Yep. And I happen to use my Google browser to find out what a browser is, Google Chrome.
Tell Window 10 that. They have to put it in the book then. That's the basic term, right?
It is.
It's,
Yep.
it's a class of program that is very, very common.
Well, it's not even in the book listed. So my problem, I can't even get to the first thing I need to know.
I'm going to go back and share my wrong one. Where are we? Yeah, that'll do. Share my, oh, come on, get out of here. There. Seniors Computer Group website. I found the thing that I wanted to email to Penny, but I think I will show you all before we quit here, which is going to be soon. You go to our website, go to resources, and goes to Hank's mini seminars. And then you scroll down when we get there. Come on, here we go. Oh, grief. All right, I said I found it. I think I lied.
So another popular keyboard shortcut is Control F for find.
I can't remember what I called this.
Well, just control find for browsers, see what happens.
You guys are getting into the weeds.
Find in the document terms. Think. Here, an explanation of some computer terms. Okay.
I've downloaded the agent. Settings.
There we go. This
Ross,
is
we're hearing you.
that long presentation
Okay.
here, which I'm going to copy.
You know what?
The link for that.
This will be a session
Hold
to
on.
define or explain some common computer jargon terms that I have often heard misdescribed.
Okay, now I'm going back. I'm going to the chat and paste. Come on, chat, where are you? Chat. There we are. Okay. Type message here, paste. There. And if I type enter, now, if you wish to, before we close down, you can copy this and play it later, and it will run that YouTube video of 30 some odd minutes of computer terms and what they mean.
Okay, well, I don't see any of that info on here.
You don't see the chat, your chat window?
She may not have it
The chat
open.
window, you go down to the bottom if it says chat or if it says more. Within more, there is a place called, there's a place to click that says chat.
I see it, okay.
And you should see the last thing on the chat is this one right here.
A blue link that says
If you
from
right
YouTube.
click on that, you can, no, you don't want to do that. You want to left click on that. It'll start that video playing on the rest of on your computer. Or you can go back to A5 in my mini seminars. It's right in the first section, computer basics. an explanation of some computer terms.
Anyway,
And then there's also another one. Oh, that one was run on Windows 7. There's another one that's even better. It's this one here. Basic terms.
we're not
That's
seeing what you see, Hank.
That's A9 in my list of videos.
Okay, Stanley?
That's A9, basic computer terms. It's 19 minutes long.
Stanley, you have a hand up?
Yeah. I have hopefully one last thing. I'd like to talk about a situation I just came across. I recently put in solar panels, and I've been thinking of replacing my gas-powered appliances, water heater, house heater, and clothes dryer with electrical units. And I went to the Home Depot and walked up to a salesman in the clothes dryer department and explained the situation. Recently put in solar panels, and I was trying to minimize my gas usage because that was what I was paying for. And whereas electrical was pretty well covered by my solar panels. And right out of the box, he said, well, you don't want to get an electrical clothes dryer because it will cost you more money. And that surprised me because he was just talking himself out of a sale. Because I wasn't going to buy a new gas clothes dryer. My premise was that I needed to reduce my gas usage because I was paying that.
This will be a session to define or explain
What's going on?
What's going on?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think Mary Ray was starting to play something.
Yeah, but I muted her, so go ahead, Stan.
Okay, so anyway, if there's anybody here that has an idea about using solar panels and why a salesman of electrical clothes dryers would tell me right out of the box that by getting an electric gas clothes dryer, it was going to cost me more than my gas appliance. If nobody has any experience or thoughts on it, forget it.
I do.
I think he was mistaken. The point is, if you're just doing apples to apples and you don't have solar panels, then yes, the cost to run a gas clothes dryer energy-wise would be less typically than running an electric clothes dryer. But he didn't add in the equation that you have solar panels.
So your electric is free.
Well, not necessarily.
Maybe not 100%, but
I generate far more than I use during the day. So I agree with Saul. I think he's simply mistaken. I was trying to get a third opinion from this audience here about what they think about that. Will, do you have an observation?
Yeah, on slight deviation of that, I was distraught to discover that solar panels will not work unless you are connected to the electrical grid. And I would like to find some way to get around that in case we have a complete shutdown of the electrical grid. That means that my solar panels will not work. Does anyone have an answer?
Well, I think you have a battery for that. It doesn't have battery.
If you want it to be that way, you have to have power backup, and you have to pay for batteries that the solar panels will charge up the batteries during the day to allow you to have it at night if you want electricity when there's no sun. And that is an option, but it's an expensive option. My experience being sold on putting in solar panels by a salesperson is that it is cost effective, and you have to be tied into the grid, so to speak, and it is a chore. and hard to understand.
I understand, though, that even with battery backup, you still need to be connected to the grid.
No, there are plenty of people that live off grid out in the boonies that have solar panels and battery backup, as Stan suggested.
Yeah, I believe that also, but everyone I've talked to indicates that I must be connected to the grid. And
don't listen to those people.
Thank you.
Well, solar panels generate direct current. Your whole system uses alternating current. To get from direct current to alternating current, my basic in college degree was in electrical engineering. To get from direct current to alternating current, you have to have what is called an inverter. And I think those inverters have to be started at least by AC. I think.
Well, I agree, and I got one. It's a box on the outside of the house that does that.
Yeah, but it has to be started by alternating, which you don't have until you get the inverter started.
Well, that may be, but
I think that's why they have told you this. I don't know whether it's true or not.
Well, Saul made the point. Saul made the point that there are people that live off the grid and
they must
use solar panels.
They might have their own generators too. You
Yeah.
have to consider that. They have their own generators, I think, most of them, because I know my brother has one. So, yeah. But he's still on the grid.
I'm looking for a solution.
Yeah.
But to get to Stan's question, I've had solar for a long time now, and I love it. And I've got it. I have to add more panels now because my son's here. But I had it calculated so that I don't pay anything. At the end of the year, when you have your true up, I pay nothing or I get some money back. Now that he's here, I got to do it. But I did keep my gas dryer and my gas water heater because gas is minuscule payment wise compared to your kilowatt hours, which can go up at any point in time. And I've always found gas to be cheaper, and I really like to have options. So that's why I keep my gas. But this
okay, Pat, thank you very much for that. May I ask if you own your panels or if you're leasing your panels?
I own them. Don't
okay, so I'm on a lease program, so I have a fixed fee to the panel organization. But that's fixed for the 25 years of the contract. I don't know if that's good idea or bad idea. It's what I did.
Well, I'm also on a lease system, and they will not allow me to attach a battery system to my leased system.
Yeah, I don't consider that a problem. I don't mind being attached to the grid. So I'm satisfied with that restriction.
But do you want a battery backup system is what I'm saying. Okay.
No.
But if you do, a lease system does not allow that for some reason.
Well, that's fine with me in my present state of mind. I don't feel the need for a battery system.
Yeah. Well, I'm concerned that one of these days we're going to have a full grid shutdown for a protracted length of time. And I'm concerned about what happens then. If it's shut down for several months, that is a big problem.
Yep.
I know from experience that when that happened on Kauai, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. His solar panels were for hot water.
If it's shut down for several months, you've got bigger problems to deal with than solar panels. I guarantee you.
He had cold beer because he had a generator that I sent him. Not just for the beer.
However, it would be nice if you're shut down for a protracted length of time to have electricity that doesn't require a generator with gasoline, which you can no longer get because the gasoline pumps run on electricity.
So that's where the batteries come in, Will.
I know, and they're very expensive. I've seen quotes of $15,000 for a set of batteries.
There's no free lunch.
Well, I didn't know they were that expensive, but when I looked at them, the guy told me that there wasn't enough, it would be a waste of money for me. So,
And then the other thing is batteries aren't forever either.
think
Batteries have a lifetime.
I think we ought to move on. Barbara's had her hand up patiently.
Oh, I was just going to comment, talking with hearing Pat. I've had solar for quite a number of years now, and I have a hybrid car, so I plugged the car in to charge it up too. And we true up in February, and last year I paid nothing for my electricity all year. Now, okay, I'm single, I live alone, so I don't use a lot. So I don't have the air conditioning on all the time. So you've still got to conserve your energy, even though you're on solar, because you're going to be paying for it one way or another. But I'm quite happy with it. And I said it fulfills, but I have gas, the heater, and my dryer's gas too. So.
Okay, my question for you, Barbara, again, as I asked Pat, do you own or lease?
I own.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I don't know, Pat, did you have yours installed by the grid?
no, I use Semper Solaris. They've installed everything, and they're very good about backing up. When my micro converters went a few years after, and they came in and replaced everything for no charge. I use SunPower solar panels, which I understand they don't use anymore. They use another. So you have to investigate. Well, if you were going to buy them, I guess you investigate what kind of solar panels.
Yeah, they've been upgrading them through the years. But when it was pretty new in the area, and I have to say we got ours installed and provided to us at no charge. So we didn't even pay for our solar. So we did okay.
We paid, but there's a 26%. See, if you lease, you don't get this. But if you buy, you get the federal credit, which is like 26% at this point. But it's going down, so you have to get it ASAP.
Anyway, okay, thank you.
Thank you too.
Hank?
Good luck, Stan.
Thank you.
Who said Hank?
I
Your
did.
hand is up.
Oh, sorry.
Those wills.
I'll take my hand down.
Okay, before we close, I wanted to thank Penny and Mary Ray for attending. One thing, if you want to, you may notice that there is a raised hand in the upper left-hand corner of my video, and that's the way you get attention rather than having to raise your hand. And the way you do that is you go down to the bottom of the screen, and you will see a list of various things, one of which is called reactions. It's way off to the right-hand side. If you see things starting at the left with mute, stop video, then participants, chat, share screen, etc. One of the selections toward the right-hand side is called reactions. If you click that reactions, one of the selections there is called raise hand. And if you click that, that orange hand will come up indicating that you want to speak. So I just wanted you to understand how to get the attention of people when you want to speak. And then when you're done, you go to that same place and you click lower hand, and it will take the hand away. Miriam has raised her hand, and Dan has done the same thing. Miriam?
Yes, I just wanted to wish Stan happy birthday. I'll try to be on the Zoom, but I can't promise to be there. But so have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you.
Dan?
Your instructions don't work on my machine. So I just have when I look at participants, I have a lower hand or upper raised hand in the left-hand corner.
But you don't have a lower.
Will,
Yes.
I think the issue is just the version of the Zoom app that's on Dan's computer.
Oh, okay.
It's older.
It's 5.1.
Yeah, Zoom has changed their user interface over the various versions.
I was just trying to point out that instructions don't always work.
Correct.
I have one additional question. We have a participant by the name of PIP, and I'm sorry I don't recognize who that is. Oh,
Testing, 1,
It's
2,
Paul.
3.
Yeah, it's Paul Incognito.
oh, okay. Hi, Paul. Yeah, thank you. Okay, that's all I have.
You're muted, Paul. If you have something to say, yeah.
Oh, I want to say IP means iPad. Paul's iPad.
Paul's iPad, okay.
Oh,
Man of few letters.
I thought he was going straight on internet protocol.
Okay, everybody, that's that horse has been beaten. I think we'll shut down, and next week, let me tell you what I found. That might be interesting. Just a minute, let me look at my calendar and quote what I found for next week.
Testing.
Google Maps is Google Maps features. I have found an interesting video on that subject that'll tell you all sorts of things that you don't know now, but probably would like to about Google Maps.
Good
It's
subject.
going to be the subject for the presentation next week. And I will go and look at Dan's suggestion of his 22 February suggestion, see if I can find some more after that. But if I don't find it, or I don't like what I find, I'm still looking for more suggestions of subjects for our Saturday meetings. Thank you all. See you next week.
Okay.
Thank you, Hank. Thank you, Stanley.
Bye.
See you next week.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'll try to make it. Bye-bye.